You should be able to see my screen now. So far, we have looked at IIS and we created a virtual machine yesterday. So, and in our previous sessions, we also discussed about app service plan and app service. This is PaaS. This is more of web application. So today we are going to learn how to create a SQL server and a SQL database. Okay, so let me bring up my slides. So now what is SQL Server? SQL Server is a Microsoft database, which is Relational Database Management System, RDBMS. Okay, so our focus is today on learning an Azure service called Azure SQL Database. Okay. Now, what are the various options that we have for hosting Azure SQL in the cloud? So let's understand the options. So SQL Server can be hosted in IIS or in PaaS. So SQL Server is supported in both options. In IIS, it is normal one, right? Whatever we do in on-prem, same thing must be done even here in IIS. So the options for IIS is same that we do in on-prem. So now anybody has worked with SQL Server?
Yes, bro.
Yeah. So Rakesh, what are the steps? Let's say if you are to do it for the very first time, you have to create a SQL Server database in on-prem. Nothing is there. Okay? Nothing is there. You have to start from zero. So what should you do? Can you just tell us the very high level steps? High level only.
Um, as a person, first we think of a server, where we, which server we need to pick up.
Mhm.
Uh,
Okay, that's okay. Let me explain. I'm going to try to bring up a notepad. I will write down the steps here. Okay. So in on-prem, let's say if you want to create a SQL server for the very first time, the very first step is you have to have a virtual machine, either Windows or Linux. SQL Server, though it is Microsoft product, it can be now hosted inside Linux box as well. Okay, so we need to have a virtual machine, then install Windows or Linux OS. Let's say Windows. Now Windows is a licensed version, licensed OS. License management is not a simple job. Every organization will have a separate team who manages licenses. So they will be talking to Microsoft. They will understand which license is suitable for them. They'll be taking care of renewals of license every 1 year or 2 years or 3 years. Again, there are different options there. If you opt for multiple years, you will get discounts, blah, blah, blah. Okay. And because it is a virtual machine, because it's a Windows OS, you have to install updates very frequently, plus upgrades as well. Every few years, OS version must be upgraded. Lifelong, this process these processes must be done without fail. And once Windows OS is installed, then SQL Server must be downloaded. SQL Server is a software, and SQL Server also has a license. Okay. Within SQL Server, you have to choose version, and within each version, you have edition as well. That's how SQL Server works. Okay, and now even SQL Server has updates and upgrades, frequent updates, and maybe yearly or yearly upgrades as well. So this also must be done lifelong. And the story doesn't end there. DBAs comes into picture. They configure backups, performance optimization. So there will be a lot of activities, taking backups and deleting old backups, because backup size, if the backup size is more, then you will run out of space. So delete old backups. Don't keep backups many years unless it's specified, it's mandatory within the organization, right? If the organization says only retain maybe 1 year backup, then delete or remove all the old backups which are older than 1 year. So these are all various dirty tasks that our team members, one of our team members, would be doing if we are using SQL Server. So many teams are involved here: DBA team, infra team, networking team, many people, license team. Okay. Now here, all these are extra work. On top of this, once everything is done, then SQL developers come into picture. They create databases, plus they write SQL code in the form of procedures, and they create SQL related things, tables, procedures, views. Basically, SQL developers or data engineers will come into picture, and they will take care of application specific requirements. But all this is dirty job that must be done in on-prem. Now in PaaS, we have two options. One is SQL database and the other one is SQL managed instance. So these things can be created very easily, one-time creation. Okay. So when you create these, either or not, I will explain why there are two options. So when you work with PaaS, all of this is no more our responsibility. Okay. In fact, some of the items are not at all required. Microsoft, and some of them Microsoft will take care. So in PaaS, you don't have to create a server at all. So all this is gone. And there is no concept of version or edition. So this is gone. There is no concept of license. This is gone. There is no server at all. So there is no concept of software installation, nothing. This is gone. And backups, obviously backups will be there, and we don't have to take backups. We don't have to worry about deleting old backups. All that is taken care by Microsoft, because all this dirty job, redundant job, is taken care by Microsoft. So PaaS in general is also called as managed service. Any PaaS service, not just database, but any PaaS service is called as managed service, because all the administrative work is managed by Microsoft, not us. So that means it's a lot of cost saving to your customer. So now that's the reason why everybody is looking towards PaaS. Okay. So that now in PaaS, okay, before that, you understand this, guys, how easy it is to go with PaaS. So it's a managed service. So in interviews, people would ask, What is the difference between IaaS and PaaS? So you should explain all this. In IaaS, we have to create virtual machines. We have to take care of OS, updates, upgrades, all that license management. Everything must be taken care by us. However, in PaaS, everything is taken care by Microsoft. Okay, we don't have to do all that dirty work. That's why everybody is looking towards PaaS. Okay, all right. Now, within PaaS, there are two options. One is SQL database, the other one is SQL managed instance. So initially, at least 5 years back, Microsoft had only one option called SQL database. This is for SQL Server. Okay. Now, Microsoft intention of releasing this initially, whenever they released, I don't know the exact year. They wanted this to be very simple, and they wanted this to be used only by new projects. However, every customer, everybody liked this very much because all the dirty work is taken care by Microsoft. They don't have to do anything. So people did not use this just for new projects, but they started migrating from on-prem to cloud, and they started using this instead of this. Even Microsoft thought people who want to migrate, they will come here. But people did not do that. Instead, people liked PaaS very much, and they started using this database. Unfortunately, this SQL database service doesn't have all the features that you have in on-prem or IaaS. This is equivalent to on-prem. So, so Microsoft, so clients, right, customers or organizations were upset because this version did not have all the features. It is limited. Maybe 50-60% features are supported. All common ones are supported. So many people did not like that. So in but still people, though they had concerns, still whatever is not supported here, they removed those features. They stopped using those features, and whatever was supported, only those were migrated. Whatever was not supported, they looked at alternatives. Even I worked on migration of databases long back. So 70 to 80% of the features that we were using were supported here, were compatible here. 20% of the features we removed. So we looked at different alternatives, and then once the alternatives are working and tested, then we went live. But it was a lot of efforts to make it compatible, right? So now customers have given feedback to Microsoft saying that, hey, this is not at all compatible, only 60% is compatible. We are using these features which are not compatible here. We have to spend a lot of time. So then Microsoft have listened to all the feedback. Then they have come up with this SQL managed instance. So this is 99.5% compatible with on-prem version of SQL Server. Okay. So now, so obviously the next question is, what should we use now? Either this or this, correct? So if you are working on a new project, if you want to start a new project, obviously you should use this. Okay. And if you want to migrate your on-prem to this, I mean, if you want to migrate your database or databases from on-prem to cloud very quickly, if you want migration to happen very quickly, then only you should use this, because it's little expensive, number one. Second thing is, management operations on this is very slow. So the other day we created VMs, we created PaaS services, right? It was very quick, hardly 1-2 minutes. Any operation will take 1-2 minutes. But this one, creation of this one takes 6 hours. This is the only service which takes a lot of time, 6 hours. And any small operation takes 2 to 3 hours. Deletion take, I think, 2 hours or 3 hours. Okay. So many people do not use this. So all the new projects, definitely SQL database is the one that you should choose. Okay. All right. So any questions, guys? No? Okay, good. So yeah, let's learn more about Azure SQL Database. We already discussed, but I'll take you here. So when you want to create Azure SQL Database, the first thing is obviously a logical SQL Server. SQL Server must be created, and inside that you can create multiple SQL databases. These are all 4 databases in one SQL Server. Okay. So let's learn more about Azure SQL Database. So it's a managed database from Azure, and the OS and in underlying infrastructure is all taken care by Microsoft. We discussed about this. It has built-in high availability backups. All those are taken care by Microsoft, and uh, the engine of on-prem SQL Server and this are same. Okay, and there are no versions or no additions here. All the features are automatically added. This is also another advantage in on-prem. If you install, let's say today 2022 might be the latest version, so if you install that, that's it. Tomorrow when SQL Server 2024 is released with new features, then you have to upgrade. In on-prem, lot of work. We have done upgrades. We have spent 1 month time in planning and 1 weekend for migration. That weekend, everybody, at least 10 people should work, and 1 month, all those 10 people should work together, at least part time. But here, it is automated. Whenever there is a new feature, they will automatically release that to Azure SQL Database. We don't have to worry about any updates or upgrades. And very nice feature is every database is assigned a compute power. Now let me go back to previous slide. So let's say this is on-prem. Let's assume for some time this is on-prem. We have one SQL Server and 4 databases. So Rakesh, I think you have used SQL Server, right? Let me ask you a question. Let's say this is this one, right? The first one is production. This has huge traffic. Maybe at peak time, this has huge traffic. A lot of transactions here. Now, because of this, do you think other databases become slow?
No. Let's say if it, no problem.
Okay.
Now
So
for,
this
for
database,
every
for every
that individual database, and we can scale up that database separately.
in on-prem. The question is on on-prem.
On-prem. On-prem, not sure.
In on-prem, actually, this database will become slow, sir. Actually, since it is using logical SQL Server.
Very good. In on-prem, you have one SQL Server. Okay, it's not logical. It's SQL Server. Okay, in one VM, you have 4 databases. So if the first one is loaded up with a lot of traffic, definitely the rest of the 3 will become very slow because it impacts, because they share the same server capacity. So on-prem, definitely, if this is loaded with a lot of traffic, this will also be slow, and because of the traffic here, the rest of the other 3 databases will also become slow because they share the capacity of the same server. It's like our computer. So for example, I have opened a lot of tabs. So you see, because I have opened many things, PowerPoints, everything is running, Teams, memory usage 79%. Because of Chrome is taking almost 1 GB. Rest of the other things will become slow, isn't it? The same concept is applicable in on-prem machines. Okay.
Got
Now, in Azure SQL database world, okay, I think I closed it. The story is different. Okay. In Azure SQL Database world, this is Azure SQL Database PowerPoint, right? Slide. It is logical SQL Server here. It is not SQL Server, but it's logical SQL Server. That means capacity is not given to SQL Server. Capacity is not given to logical SQL Server. Capacity is given to individual databases. Individual database can be scaled up separately. Each database is isolated with each other in terms of capacity. So if one database is loaded up with a lot of transactions, the others are not impacted. That's one major change in Azure SQL Database. So each SQL database could be assigned the required compute power. They are isolated with each other and they can be scaled up separately and scaled down as well with minimum downtime. Okay. So that's one great advantage.
I want to know this managed instance for migration of on-prem to its managed instance using mm,
What is the
this
question?
actually the proposal you said is 99% compatible. SQL managed instance is better for migration. It's on-prem to better migration process, and so we can get in SQL managed instance. But where I can choose this VM, this is some VM SQL VM, and which perfect
No, there is no VM
mainly
here. In past, there is no VM.
no in past means actually we have services for SQL, SQL VM and managed instance and a fast SQL. And three of the of them, and which one we need to choose, so which situation we need to choose.
I'm not sure if you understand the question.
Actually, we have SQL VM and a PaaS.
Where is SQL VM? This one you are talking?
Yes,
Okay, yes, yeah.
yes,
Okay,
yes.
yeah.
These three
So in
of
which,
them, and yeah, please
okay, the
continue.
question is when should we use this versus when
Yes,
should we use this? Is that the
yes,
question?
yes.
Yeah, good question. Both look similar, right? Yeah. Um. So let's say I will give one example of my current project. We wanted to host. We wanted to have a migrate one database. Basically, I'm working on an ETL project. Okay, data analytics project. It's a migration of SAP migration, SAP migration to Azure cloud. Okay? It's not actual migration, it's a rebuild. So whatever features we have in SAP, all that features we have to rebuild using data factory, Databricks, basically all analytics project. Okay, but data should be migrated, but rest of the functionality must be recreated from the scratch. Now SAP also internally uses SQL Server. Okay, so now the SAP servers are not accessible completely. They are accessible, but because of huge data, the servers are getting timed out. So what we want is we want to migrate on-prem SQL Server data, which is very huge. It has around 500 million records. So now in Azure, we want to create a temporary database very quickly. It's around 5 terabytes. So obviously we cannot use this. So options are this and this. So our requirement is we want to create a database in Azure somehow very quickly. Multiple times we have to do. Once in dev, once in QA, once in production. Okay. And we will not be using that every day. We want it temporarily for 3 months. We are not going to use it every day. We'll be using maybe only 1 week initially, and after 2.5 months, last week of the third month, we will use it. So that's our requirement. And all the operations must be done very quickly. We want a backup restore. Take the backup in on-prem and restore that backup very quickly. These are our requirements. So obviously, I want to stop the database server in the middle. I don't want us to get charged for all 3 months, because we want only first week and last week. So now tell me, with the knowledge that you have yesterday and today, which option should we go? Others also can answer.
Yes.
Ah, yes, very good. So in IaaS, we have the option of stopping the VM. We can
Yes.
do a remote stop. Okay, but this one creation will take 6 hours. Client doesn't agree 6 hours just for creation. That too, we need to create 3 times, right? If you say 6 is
Yes.
18, right? 2 days is gone only for creation, client will not agree. So we have to take this approach because it is temporary.
Yes.
So that's one use case. There might be other use case as well. So yeah. Okay, all right.
Yes, thank you.
Sure. So there are other things. Maybe I will not go through all this. This is advanced stuff. Okay, let's quickly create a logical SQL server. So now, in general, servers, whenever you create, they will have capacity, correct? Now, let's see. It is SQL Server is here. Now, when I try to create it, it will ask us to choose a resource group. Provide a name. Now you see it is getting an endpoint. So most of the PaaS services will get a public endpoint. So public endpoints are generally vulnerable. That means people can try to hack it. And generally database servers must be very confidential, right? Because it has data is very, very confidential. It's very important for customers. So don't worry, you should not worry, though it is a public endpoint, there are a lot of validations in place. So I will explain that in a moment. So here you see we are giving server name, location, and authentication. That's it. We are creating a server. Nowhere we specified the compute power, how much CPU, how much RAM, nothing. All those are not here because this is logical SQL Server. And I can ignore the rest of the other things for now. It's networking, it's security. There is no capacity thing. That's it. And the minimum one, the SQL Server is free of cost. Of course, if you add security as additional feature, it will charge you, but we did not use it, so it's free. This is going to take some time, maybe 10-20 seconds. Database will take more time, maybe 1 minute. So let's give it some more time. It's now ready. Currently, it doesn't have any databases. So let's now create a database inside it. It's very simple. Azure Fundamentals. Sorry. Yeah. Select the RG. Then provide a name. We will say database one. Select the server. And yes, it is for development, not for production. And there are a lot of options. Maybe I will choose a very basic one with minimum capacity, which cost me around 500-400 rupees per month. In database world, you cannot stop it. There is no option for stopping. And that's it. You see here, we have given database name and the server name, and we have given the capacity here, compute plus storage. So I have selected a very basic one. So this is the major difference between on-prem and Azure SQL in terms of capacity. So this database called database one is given compute power of basic. Of course, we can increase or decrease either now or after creation as well. Okay. And networking also can be done here. Security, all this can be done here. We will talk about this in a moment. So we are done. And let's see the additional settings. So here there is an option. Do you want to create an empty database or backup or a sample database? I'll pick sample. Because it is a sample, it will create AdventureWorks LT. That means it will have some sample table, sample data, sample stored procedures. All those will also be created. That will save some time because this is just for testing. Finally, review plus create. Double check the cost and options. I'm good with everything. Click on create. That's it. It's going to take some time, maybe 1 minute. And we're done. So an Azure infra engineer or platform engineer responsibility is done. Throughout the lifetime, you don't have to do any updates, upgrades, backups, nothing. It's just creation of SQL Server and creation of database. And of course, if the size is, if the developers want us to increase the size, those things definitely will be there. But not all the options that all the dirty work that people used to do in on-prem, right? Those things you don't have to worry about them. Okay. So this is going to take some time, maybe 30 more seconds. So database is also created. Now, how do we connect to this database? There are multiple options. Okay. One option is to connect to this database right in the browser using query editor. Okay. So I want to explain you one thing. I am the administrator. Okay. I created this database from this machine and I logged into portal already, right? Now I'll try to connect to this database. Let's see. Click on it. Logged in. Username is already populated. So let's enter password. So I know for sure this is the right password. So let me click on this. Let's see what happens. Okay. The first option is an instance blah 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 connection was denied. Since deny public network access is set to yes. That means public access is disabled. Right now I'm trying to connect to this database from over internet, which is denied. That's what it says. That means if you remember in network settings, we did not do anything, right? We did not go to network settings. So while creating it, so by default, it is denied. So database is very secure, though it is having public endpoint. So what we should do is, now I want to connect over internet. So what we should do is, we should go to, okay. So now this is network setting. Now tell me guys, where should we change it? Should we change it at database level or server level? Server level, logical SQL server level. Okay. So now how do we connect to its parent? Go to overview blade. These are all called as blades. I mean, in the right hand section, whatever you see, these are all blades. So now let's go to server. In the overview blade, you have this server. Click on this, it will take you to SQL Server. Now here, networking section. By default, you see public network access is disabled. So this now it is enabled, and I will click on save it. So what did we do? We just enabled public access. That's it. Okay. Now let me go back. So here connection was denied. Since deny public access is set to true. Okay. Now let me try to click on OK again. Now you see different errors. Deny public, that is not there. Now what does it say? Cannot again similar error but different error. Cannot open server. Client with IP is not allowed. See, one level is gone. Now second level is active. Second level of validation is been activated, where it says, hey, your IP is not whitelisted. This is my IP address. So in order to connect, I have to whitelist this IP address in network settings and in firewall rules. A small firewall is built on every SQL server. Okay, so I have to add my IP address. Basically, I have to whitelist my IP address because it is just one IP. So start IP and end IP both must be same. So in general here in India, right, every now and then IP changes. So always IP address will be within this range. So 0.0 255.255. So here the ISP guys keep changing the IP address. So but that will be within this range only. So my IP address will always be within this range. So click save. And now click OK. Now you see it went through. So that's the level of security that is inbuilt within Azure SQL Server. Okay. So there are other options as well, but we will not look at those now. Maybe we can look at in the real other courses. From here now, database developers or data engineers can start working on writing queries, stored procedure, creating new tables, blah blah blah. Okay, so they can work with tables, views, and stored procedures. Okay, yeah, there are other options, but those things will take some time. Maybe I would like to stop it here for today. So from now onwards, yeah, in fact, backups, right? We did not talk about backups. So let's talk about backups. Now tell me guys, backups, where do you see them? Do you see them at database level or server level?
Database.
Database level.
Okay, yeah, database level, right? Um, database level. Right now we are in SQL Server. So server level backup policies are there. Okay, but in general, we will not see all backups. By default, Microsoft takes full backups weekly once. Increment differential backups, I think every few hours, I guess. So here, if you come, available backups, right? So there is a backup available for database one. So and retention policies. How long do you want to? Yeah, here it is. Um, full backup every, I think every week once, and differential backup every day once, I guess. Okay. So now these backups are retained only for 7 days here, because we have created a very basic one. The backups are retained only for 7 days. But if the database is of types higher tiers, standard or premium, I did not show you all that because of time. Um, if you have standard or premium tier, then you will have Microsoft will retain them for 35 days. And if you want beyond that, you can also configure LTR, long-term backup policy. Okay, so that will ensure that your backups are retained for 10 years. Okay, so I click apply. These backups, see, there are two types of backups. One is PITR. PITR means point in time backups. The other one is long term backup. LT means long term. R means retention. These are all retention policies. Okay, so long term retention, point in time are the default built-in policies. We don't have to take backups ourselves. Microsoft will take care. But if we want beyond 35 days, 7 days is for basic, 35 days is for standard and premium tiers. So some companies say, hey, 35 days is not sufficient. As per our governance organization rules, we want to retain it for 4 years, 8 years, 10 years. Then we have to configure long-term backup retention like this. Okay, so now this will charge you additionally. This is we have to do this configuration, and which is charged additionally depending on the size of the database, how many databases you want to retain, how long you want to retain those, how many backups you want to retain. Based on all these factors, they will charge you additional. So taking backups is as simple as it is. Just fill the form and click on apply. That's it. Rest of the things are all taken care by Microsoft. Okay, so that's about backups.
Praveen, just want to know where this backup stored. Means is there any separate storage is required or?
No, definitely, yeah, there will be storage required in some servers. They will be stored, but we will not have access to that. We cannot see them. For example,
Okay.
let's say you configured 10 years backups, okay, and
Yeah.
you want to see the list of all backups. No, you cannot see all the list of backups, but what you can do is you can restore. While restoring, you can specify the time. For example, here you see restore. I want to restore one of the backup of the database. So you can select the date here because this is a new one recently created. So there is no restore option available. Let's see. Restore will be available a few minutes after database is online. We just created it some time back, right? Maybe I'll show you one more database. Old database. I have one more. Yeah, this is old one. Earliest restore point. Okay, so 25th. So now if I try to restore, here I can choose a time and date. So what happens is Microsoft will pick that backup and it creates a new database with that backup. That's the only option. You cannot see the list of all backups. That's not possible.
Oh,
You can only see what database backups are available. That's it. How many backups? All that is not shown to us. But we can choose a time and date. So on that time, on that day, the closest backup will be given to us, which we can restore as a separate database.
okay.
Yeah. All right, guys. That's it for today. Any other questions? Tomorrow would be last day. So I will be explaining what are the career options, what are the different roles, next steps, right? This is just fundamentals. So what are the other, what are the certifications, what roles you have in Azure, how to learn on your own, right? What are the courses that I take, and what are the certifications? So how you should get prepared for interviews, where to learn quickly, right? So all those options I will explain tomorrow. Okay. Um, yeah, I think that's it for today, guys. Thank you so much for your time. Any questions before I leave? No?
Praveen,
Okay.
our certification, like lot of people, like very few people will do the certification, then very less people will, like more people will not do. Like, how will certifications help in cracking the job much quicker, or like how it will work?
See, even if you have many certifications, people will, it is just one addition, it just adds some weight to your profile. But still, interview will happen and they will just not take you just by looking at all your certifications. It just shows, maybe it will help you in shortlisting, in getting your resume shortlisted. That's it. So let's say there are two profiles. One profile has 10 certification, the other profile doesn't have any certification, but that guy has a lot of skills. That guy who has 10 certification, he has only exam knowledge, he doesn't have much experience. So obviously a person with a lot of certifications but no skills will not crack. But only thing is, it may help in shortlisting your profile. Okay.
Okay, Praveen, thank you.
Thank you. At least in
Yeah,
India, I'm
Praveen, one
saying.
question.
But
Praveen, one question.
yeah,
Uh,
please go.
see, most of the people here, I suppose, maybe some fresher, maybe some from the development background, or maybe from some other backgrounds, from testing backgrounds, but actually they don't have any experience. Take the example of me. I haven't experienced. I am from the development background, so it's okay that we will do this certification. But how to gain the experience? We are not getting any opportunity in our organization. But how can we? To just crack the interviews.
Yeah, that's a good question, right? Yeah, maybe I think Srikant intention was also same thing. Now let me explain that. So right now we are all learning Azure. and obviously all of you are working on different domains, not just you, everybody else. I'm sure they're not working. None of you are working or in Azure. Maybe one or two are working, but many of you are not working in Azure now. So how do we crack interviews without
Yes.
experience? Right? That's the question. Obviously, I know it's tough, but how my courses help you is I'll be doing all hands-on. Okay, only 30% of the time I'll be using slides, but rest of the other times I'll be doing hands-on. So these hands-on things are the real things that we do in our projects. Okay, I'll be explaining scenarios. For example, I think someone Rakesh was asking when to use managed instance, when to use VMs. Both are same, right? Both are meant for on-prem migration. So when to use this versus that. I gave one scenario and he was able to answer what to be used. And in interviews, people would also ask the same question. Did you do SQL or do you have experience working with SQL? Yes. What are the options that we have in SQL? Now you can tell them in past there are two options, in IIS there is one option. So you can explain the scenarios now, right? So that is just theory, of course. But now in the classes, I'll be doing a lot of hands-on. For example, whitelisting firewall rule, right? So that is one simple use case. I had only one IP address. The real world use case would be there are hundreds of such IP addresses. How do you add them? I did not explain that here, right? Maybe I will explain that in the real course. So these are all scenarios that we do in our projects. So now I will be doing all those in the real courses. So you have to practice them. I'll be giving all recordings. You have to practice. Of course, you might get errors. You have to follow the recording to mimic whatever I have done. And of course, I'll be creating a WhatsApp group. I think all of you are in WhatsApp group. When you practice, when you encounter some errors, you will have to post that error in the WhatsApp group. Either I will answer or somebody else who has practiced, other people, right? They will also respond in case if they have faced the same issue, and that's how you will learn new things. So definitely in interview, if you practice whatever I do, right? So that is more than enough. You will get around 3 to 4 years of experience. You can claim that you have 3 to 4 years of experience in Azure.
Any training like this for cyber security beginnings?
No, not yet.
Praveen, actually, we do hear from portal or we do from Azure CLI, the creations of services are.
Yeah, good question, right? So right now, all these 3 days I have been working only with portal, right? But in real world, portal is not the recommended one. Portal is just for viewing purpose, not for managing, not for creating or updating. Okay. In real world, what is the best practice? The best practice is to use technology, various automation technologies. As I said, CLI is one of them, but most common one is IAC, which stands for infrastructure as code. So we write code to create the infrastructure. These are all infrastructure. A database, a SQL server, a VM, a web server, all these are infrastructure to us. So we use a technology called Bicep. There are technologies like Terraform, Bicep, ARM templates. These are a very popular one. There are other things as well, Pulumi, and other things as well. Okay. So in our courses, we will be using Bicep. So using Bicep, we'll be creating databases, web servers, VMs, storage accounts, all these different things.
PowerShell also we use a Praveen here.
Yeah, we can use PowerShell as well. For example, I was talking about creation of hundreds of IP addresses, right? We whitelisted only one IP. Now we have an Excel sheet. Maybe a question would be, in interviews also people ask, did you use PowerShell? If you say yes, in which scenario you use PowerShell? That's a question. So you can tell them, one example is we get Excel sheet which contains hundreds or thousands of IP addresses every day. Those IP addresses keep changing. So our requirement was to automate the process of getting all the IPs and adding them to the whitelisting of firewall rules. So this kind of scenarios, right, you have to write PowerShell, read the data, I mean IP addresses from the Excel sheet, and add them basically and whitelist them into SQL Server firewall rules. That's one simple example of using PowerShell. So for
Okay.
different scenarios, if the logic is complex, then we have to use PowerShell because it's a programming language. Many people do not know that. All complex functionalities can be implemented using PowerShell. CLI cannot be used in that case. CLI with PowerShell can also be done.
So in that
Okay.
case, actually, we will be using Visual Studio and we will be integrating, right? All
Correct.
these.
Correct. Visual Studio Code, not Visual Studio.
Okay.
Visual Studio is not required. Visual Studio Code. Even for Bicep also, we'll be using Visual Studio Code.
Got it. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, those are good questions. Any other questions, guys?
Praveen, I have one more question. As a beginner, which one is preferable to learn? Either ARM templates or Terraform or Biceps?
ARM templates is little tough, I would say. And learning Terraform or Bicep is okay. Both are very similar.
Okay.
Terraform is very popular, and Bicep is recently now. It's hardly 2 years now. So, if you want to start now, I would say Bicep because Terraform has little challenges, though it is very popular. But still, I would say Bicep is easier than Terraform because Terraform has a concept called state that will, if you mess up something, then it will create a lot of problems. So Bicep would be very easy.
Okay, Praveen, thank you.
Okay. Anything else, guys?
Praveen, just want to know few more things. And is this bicep is enough for to survive in Azure means furtherly?
No.
Because I am
No.
afraid to.
Mhm.
I'm afraid to this coding language. I don't know and scripting. I don't know, but understanding is JSN is important and the YAML pipelines like this type of everything is scripting languages and PowerShell is come in middle and some part of working and Terraform, Azure CLI, and Bicep. I'm new to that, and the blueprints concepts are also there. And which one we need to prefer to survive with some non-coding background? I mean, just I want to
You
know,
know
and
YAML?
I need to.
You are comfortable working with YAML? You said
No, no,
YAML.
I'm telling that. No, no, just I'm telling. I don't know
YAML.
YAML and JSN and this type of scripting involved. That's why I'm asking. And we need to, if I'm non-IT background, I know what I need to focus out and which language, which scripting I need to focus out and survive in Azure to maintain Azure this program.
Yeah, got it. So definitely, because it's new technology, you'll have to spend a lot of time in learning new things. Okay, but um, but definitely, these are all very easy things because tools are available which generate the code. For example, your question was on two things. One is YAML, the other one is Bicep. Okay, so let me quickly show you. Um, how easy it is. Right, today we learned, what did we learn? We learned SQL Server, right? I created that using Portal, correct? So now, one second, guys. SQL. So let's say, what did we do today? We have created a SQL database, SQL Server and database, correct? So now what I said is, it's not recommended to create them from portal. Then what is the approach? One of the best options is to use bicep, correct? That's what I said. So now I created a folder called fundamentals. I am opening this folder in Visual Studio Code. Now we need to create a bicep code, correct? Now SQL Server. So bicep files will have an extension of .bicep. Now what do I want? I want to create a resource called SQL. See, that's it. This tool, I'll do it again. I just typed and I got all this. And I want to create SQL Server. All the code is given to me by the tool. VS Code has an extension for bicep, and all I need to know is what options should I give here. That's the only thing that I have to do, right? It's just key value. You don't have to remember all this. So this is bicep. So code will all be given. You just have to remember, okay, this is for SQL servers, Microsoft.SQL/servers. And this is for database, Microsoft.SQL/server/database. You don't have to remember all the syntax, at the rate, when to use equals to. All this is given to you by the tool. You just need to know where to make changes, how to use these things, how to pass values to all this. So it's as simple as it is. There is no concept of logic. In general, developers have to struggle a lot, right? C# .NET guys, Java guys, they will write a lot of programming. But here you don't have to write all that complex logics. This is on bicep. Okay. Now I will show you similar thing for YAML as well. For example, we'll talk about, by the way, this weekend I'll be talking about best practice about Azure DevOps Git repos. Okay, best practices. There is free event plan. I think all of you are in the WhatsApp group. I will share you the link to join the webinar. Okay, so now you see here we have a lot of pipelines for bicep, for database, .NET, hello world, right? Now you see this looks complicated. This is YAML code, correct? This looks complicated, but believe me, all this is generated automatically. I'll show you. So maybe I'll take something, database pipeline. So for example, everything is a task here, you see, task one. So now like this, I want to create more tasks. Okay, so what I should do is very simple. All I need to know is where to put the cursor. Cursor must be put exactly here. That's very important thing that you should know. And rest of the things I can just come here, search for the task. Maybe I will pick the first one, select this. Okay, and that's it. Click on add. The code is added. And if you want to modify this, click on settings. You see whatever is selected here, that is open here. You can change it here and click add. That's it. Okay, only some pieces of the code must be written by you and rest of it is all automatically added. You just need to understand where to make changes, where to add it, where to make changes, how to make changes. The concepts of
So here stages will have jobs, and inside jobs we have steps. Steps have tasks, like that. Is it? This is the hierarchy.
correct, yeah, something like that. I'll explain later in detail about them. But focus here, I mean, the takeaway here is uh, the tools for YAML or Bicep or Terraform, ARM templates for everything. You have built-in tools. The tools are very contextual. They will help you in generating most of the code. And rest of the features that you have to write, I will explain that. You have to practice that once and you will remember that. You'll have to remember that forever. And rest of the tasks, you should obviously use this YAML assistant, which will help you in adding all the code for your task. So this is not very complicated. For example, here I will show you at least 4 or 5 technologies. Okay, but in real world there might be hundreds of technologies, we don't know. But the concepts, whatever you have it here, I will even go give you all the code. You can just copy and have it with you. Whenever you get some requirement, you can take the main crux, main structure, and the only thing that changes is the tasks that I just showed you. Individual tasks will change.
Yeah.
Basically, a lot of usability. When it comes to YAML, you can reuse the existing pipeline and just make modification and deliver that to developers. And same case for Bicep. So right now I just showed you a script, right, for SQL Server, and even if you work for 100 projects, the code is same. Wherever you go, the code is same. There is no change. Only few things will change. But for a developer's life, let's say I think one of you, Rakesh, someone said you were .NET developer, right? Lifelong you will have to write business logic, and you struggle thinking about logic, for loops, right? If else conditions, database interactions, right? Lifelong you have to write that logic. But here you can reuse the code from one project to other project, from one place to other place. Okay, so it is not complex at all. Initially, yes, every new technology there will be learning curve, but you just have to spend few months. Maybe every day should practice for a couple of hours, and that's it. But definitely should practice. If you don't practice immediately, you will forget for sure. Okay. All right, guys. Any other? No. All right. Okay, then feel free if you have any questions, you can post that in the WhatsApp group as well. I will try to answer. So there is a larger group as well. Maybe I will share you the link for that. Right now, you guys are in one smaller group, but I have around 800 people, wherein people ask about a lot of questions day in day out. I'll be helping them in getting their issues fixed, and all my previous students also respond. Let me share that as well here. Yeah, you can copy the links that I shared, because the moment I close this, I will lose them. Okay. Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you for your time. Bye bye. I'll see you tomorrow.